Hello folks, welcome back to the Urban Rider Studio. In front of me we have a helmet from the Italian manufacturer NOLAN. This is the NOLAN N21 and it doesn't really suit my head, but then open faces very rarely do. It does, however, have all of the function that you would want from an open face helmet, all of the increased visibility and feeling of freedom. It also has a drop down visor on there and you can get it in two different versions. So either with this drop down sun visor alone, or they have an outer visor as well, a slightly more expensive version, but some extra function in that regard. Those have a starting price of £150 up to £190 depending on the colour that you choose. And the version that we have in the studio starts at £130. Now there are a few other manufacturers that do something similar to this. Obviously it is an open face helmet, but the added function of having an internal visor brings it in line with things like the Bell TX501 or the Shoei JO. There are other options as well, but those are more expensive than this helmet by a decent margin. Coming in around £250, £330 I think for the Shoei JO last time I checked. So significantly more expensive depending on which of their competitors you go for. And all right, there are differences in terms of the material, so they do justify that extra price to a certain degree. But the thing I like about NOLAN is that they are great value for money. But with less expensive helmets, you sort of expect that the materials are going to be less premium and that the finish is going to be compromised in some way. I think they managed to meet that line fantastically. They have a great balance of enough quality with a more affordable price that it makes them a great option if you're looking for something like this. And for a lot of people, an open face helmet might be their second helmet for sunny rides, something like that, or maybe they ride less frequently, whatever it is, they just want something a little bit more affordable like this. Let's talk about the quality of finish then and the materials that they've chosen. So on this helmet, they use a polycarbonate outer, which is more affordable to make, but the compromise is often that it's a little bit heavier. This is still quite a lightweight helmet though, I have to say. So it is 1,070 grams listed on the back. It does feel lightweight. Obviously it's an open face helmet, it's going to, but it has a little bit of extra function there with this, adds more mechanism to it, generally adds a little bit of weight, but like I say, quite a light helmet. Never a huge deal breaker or anything to make or break my decision then when it comes to helmets. Very rarely do I find one that's uncomfortably heavy. Either way, the other thing with polycarbonate is that it isn't quite as durable. And what I mean by that is the recommendation to change your helmets, I believe for polycarbonate is about 3 years. And the lifespan of things like fiberglass and carbon is about 5 years. Most people, including myself on multiple occasions, tend to push that. It's just a recommendation, but it does show that things like fiberglass and carbon shells do last a little bit longer, or they're expected to be a little bit more durable. Now that's not a comment on the safety. This still passes ECE 2206 safety standards. It's just in terms of the lifespan of what they would recommend. Now I could concede that at this budget, it does look a little bit bigger than some of its competition, although not significantly. Open face helmets are starting to get bigger and bigger, and the Bell is probably not a bad example actually, where it is quite sizable, especially considering that it's got that drop-down visor on the TX501, and that will make it look slightly bigger. Now on this one, what they have done actually is just kind of leave a section on the forehead there, which allows that visor to recede, which means the back of the helmet actually is probably a little bit slimmer than the Bell equivalent, because of course they've just bulked out the front, the forehead, to allow room for this visor to drop down, whereas the Bell has kept a consistent shape across the rest of the helmet. For me, having this larger section at the front makes it look more like an aircraft-inspired helmet. For some people, that might be the sort of design they're looking for. It certainly helps it stand out a little. They make this in two different shell sizes, the change actually happening at extra large, so all the way up to size large, it uses the same shell size, and the larger shell size happens after that. That's good for most people because most people tend to be under an extra large for head size. It uses a climber comfort interior. It has a ratchet strap around your neck, and it is a universal fit. It's an intermediate oval, and I'll try it on just to give you an idea of how it looks. If I just keep my quiff out of the way, that makes it look ever so slightly better, although still not great on my head because I don't tend to suit open face helmets. They make me look a little bit silly because I've got quite a long face, but it is a comfortable fit all the same. It is, I would say in terms of the shape, it looks a little bit more perched on your head than some open face helmets or some helmets that I've tried more recently. almost like I've got an afro. I've always wanted an afro, so it's good to see what I would look like if I did have one. Clearly not that great. But also the drop-down visor comes down to about there, gives you an idea of what this sort of looks like and functions. And you can get different tints when it comes to the drop-down visor, which for me, I think I would just go for a tinted version anyway. And then this is quite handy with things like glasses. I mean, if you're riding at high speeds, I'd want to be wearing goggles in an open face anyway to stop my eyes from watering. These sorts of drop-down visors, although they do a decent job at deflecting air from your eyes, don't stop it entirely. So anything above sort of 40 miles an hour, you're still going to get a decent amount of airflow through. So for commuting and things like that, quite a handy little option. But like I say, at higher speeds, I'd definitely go with goggles if I was still using my open face. Now, this isn't the only open face helmet we've got from Nolan. Another one you might want to look at is the N40, which is also new to us. And I say you might want to look at that because I was told that actually it very nearly suits my face, or made me look maybe a little better than this. But that one also does have a drop-down visor on the front and a bit of extra functionality. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's a great option for city riding. I did quite like how that one suited me. If this is the sort of helmet you're looking for, it certainly is a great option. Definitely worth making your shortlist. If you want to find it for yourself, links can be found in the description, as can links to the rest of Nolan's range, and I will see you soon.